Hello, and welcome to the exclusives on Happy 98.9 FM. And you can listen to us live on Happy 98.9 FM. You can also watch us live on Facebook and also on YouTube at Happy TV. Now, in the exclusives, we happen to go deeper into issues, we happen to chance on prominent individuals within industries and have conversations with. And this afternoon or this morning, if you're listening to us, we are privileged to be at the office of the Chief Executive Officer of Downwell Insurance. He's also the president or chairman of the Ghana Insurance Association. And this morning, a lot of issues for us to talk about. But let me first and foremost welcome Mr. Seth Kobla Aklasi, Chief Executive Officer of Downwell Insurance, onto the show. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on our show this morning. Insurance in Ghana, insurance in Africa. I want us to, do a bit of an assessment or overview of how the insurance industry is playing across Africa and in Ghana. Just recently, before I even came in, I read somewhere, and I think it's Deloitte & Touche that has released a report on the performance of the insurance industry across the continent of Africa, and also zooming in on Ghana. They state that insurance penetration is going to remain somewhere around 1% until the end of 2024. If you happen to hear reports like this, or if you happen to peruse reports like this, what comes into your mind? Why is it that there seems to be low penetration, despite the effort being put in by players within the insurance industry?
Thank you, Safa. I think that we should commend Deloitte. Over the years, they have actually done this an outlook for insurance for Africa and the globe over the years consistently. They cover a lot of issues. It's interesting that today you've picked on penetration. Yes, indeed, penetration would always be low for several reasons for a country like Ghana. When we talk about the insurance penetration, it's fundamentally the gross written premium, which is the premiums that we get, that is expressed as a percentage or a fraction of the gross domestic product. Okay, let's take this. Here in Ghana, we have the CD. A lot of our transactions are done in CDs. The GDP is recorded in dollars. 6 months down the line, if the CD even depreciates, that would impact on whatever the penetration rate is going to be. In the sub-region, there are various ways that people determine what their gross written premiums are. If you take our Francophone neighbors, for instance, they would have pensions and health factored in to determine what the total insurance premium that had been collected for a year that then they used to express as a fraction of the GDP. But in Ghana, you know that we have separately just insurance where we have only life and non-life insurance, and that's all. National health insurance regulates the private health insurance sector that does something completely different. Pensions is regulated by the Pensions Regulatory Authority. So it's only NIC figures that we are dealing with now that are used, NIC being the National Insurance Commission. Which is our supervisory body. So in effect, I don't think that we should be dwelling too much on that. Fundamentally, I keep saying that insurance is just protecting your assets and your liabilities. There would always be countries that have huge assets way beyond what Ghana has. If we even want to increase it, we are going to be saying that if our GDP doubles, and then we have a lot more disposable income and people can buy more insurance and our currency is stable, insurance penetration is going to go up. At some point, a couple of years ago, before the economy of Ghana was restated, GDP penetration was actually much higher than the 1%. I think it crossed the 2% mark. But once the GDP is restated, it has an impact on that. So for me as an insurance practitioner, I would want to be much more comfortable with what we call the coverage rate. That rate shows the number of people that have active policies relative to the total population. And that, when you come to that in Ghana, it is much higher. At least it is about the 50s. So if you take about the 50 million, all of 32 million Ghanaians that we have, at least about 50% of them have some sort of like insurance. So it's actually a fairer measure of the use or basically purchasing insurance. So it's a fairer measure than just the penetration that is not, I think, in my personal opinion, a fair way to look at it.
So when we're talking about insurance, we should be thinking about the coverage and not necessarily taking a critical look at our condition or our situation that we happen to find ourselves in, not the penetration. Because always, as you mentioned, there are other countries that are bigger than us, having bigger assets than us, and obviously their insurance penetration will always be higher than that of ours.
Coupled with the fact that there are some other people that use, like for instance, I cited the health insurance that is accounted for differently in Ghana, pensions which is accounted for differently in Ghana. So when you come to Ghana, we are looking at the narrow base of only insurance, which is just life
and non-life.
And non-life insurance.
But good that, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned other Francophone countries adding other elements like pensions and health insurance. Just before I came, and there was a story published by Graphic Business, which was stating that the finance ministry is thinking of adding these very elements that you just mentioned, health insurance and pensions, to the calculation of insurance penetration. Will that suffice?
Yes, that gets us closer to then comparing like to like, if it is going to be able to be achieved anytime soon. I know that there's been discussions in the past recent years about trying to put together all premiums, because premium comes for health insurance. It's also a premium, as we might call it. If you bring in pensions as well, it's some sort of like insurance. So if you aggregate all those ones and then now you compare it to the GDP, then the penetration would be impacted, even regardless. If it's not that like it's doubling, then we would have inched up. But until that is done, if we begin to compare what pertains in Ghana to other places, then it is not representative. I think that if it's doable, because then over the years now we have an established pensions regulatory authority, we have an established health insurance authority. Granted, even if we do not fuse all of those together, but we are able to collate data from all those places that we use in determining what penetration it is going to have an impact, definitely.
But let's talk about, I mean, the data that you yourself gave regarding the coverage. I think somewhere around last year, it was shared that about 75% of the Ghanaian population, and if you're doing the real numbers, you're talking about 25%. 25
yes,
are not insured.
You see, I'm not sure I've seen that particular data.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that it is per portfolio. Not necessarily across board, because then if you look, the most popular sort of insurance here is motor. So if you take that, it tells a different story in terms of coverage of the number of people who have motor insurance, because that is even compulsory. But then if it comes to the non-compulsory ones, for instance, that we don't have any life policy that is compulsory now, then it's not going to sort of like show the actual number. Then you begin to have a very limited number in terms of coverage. So it varies. But to the best of my knowledge, I think that it's about way more than the 75% of Ghanaians that do not have any form of insurance. At least somebody would have at least one form of active policy. If for instance, if you are just going to even factor in all the lines we're talking about, national health, that is very prevalent in that kind of situation. So I think coverage is a bit higher than the 25% though.
So and you being a president of the Ghana Insurance Association, you're looking at numbers, and you mentioned I mean, it will be more than 25% of people who have one form of insurance or the other. I'm looking at the number of insurance companies in the country. We have life insurance companies, we have around 20. Non-life, we have around 27. And we have reinsurance, we have about 3 of them. Are these entities enough in terms of their capacity to really absorb the number of people that we have in the country in case, let's say, 80% decide to have one insurance or the other?
Very, very, very easily. Insurance is a whole different thing that has its own principles and practice. People even argue that the companies are too many as we have them now. So it depends on which side you're coming from. I think that there are people in this industry that think that there are too many small firms, but that's for another discussion. But primarily, insurance is about risk transfer. And if you are trained in risk transfer, you always look at the risks that you are faced with. You know what you have to take. There are always arrangements behind, which is the reinsurance, and then all the reinsurers can also do reinsurance, and it goes round and round. And we as practitioners, we know how we are able to assimilate the risk and then do what we call transfer the risk, and then know what our accumulations are at any particular point in time. I think that the capacity of this market is great. We can take a lot more than we are having now, and then we are actually trying to drive this whole thing about insurance up. One of the key things that we are doing is that creating opportunity to build confidence in this industry, to educate people, and then to be responsive to the needs of the people, to begin to give them what they want, but not just stay back and say that, oh, this is what our offering is, some sort of like innovation. I know for a fact that there's a lot of innovation going on. If you look at the new act of the 2021 as 1061 or whatever, there is even what we call the sandbox that people have talked about, that we are opening up for insurtech firms to even come in with new ideas, new ways of doing things, and then new products and policies that they can sell out to people to make sure that we meet the needs of the people. So ultimately, as a service industry, our focus is, are we meeting the expectations of our clientele? So that's what it is. If we were not a radio interview, we just having a one-on-one conversation with you. Yes, to a large extent, we are striving hard. We're striving. We're trying to, within our means, change the narrative as the ones that we have control over. But unfortunately, to a large extent, insurance is cultural as well. It's not in our culture to buy insurance, or insurance as we perceive it is replicated and then provided in different forms, where there are family units and then there are individuals, so groups that come in to support people, but people don't perceive it that like, no, this is a very structured thing that we need to have like contract and then commitments to with legal backing to say that, okay, because I have done this for you, I deserve this back. We haven't been able to reach out to as many people as possible. And the last thing is that, you know, we are quite religious in this country. There are two religious lines. The
Christian,
Islam,
the Muslim.
So when you start with that one as well, do not subscribe to insurance as we have it. So they have their own, which is Takafu. It's gradually developing. If you look at insurance penetration, even at the African level or at the global level, even Africa is ahead of the Middle East, where Islamic is like, the religion is very dominant, just because, okay, per their religion, they do not even have believe in insurance as it is practiced. There have been new ones that have been developed for them. If you come here, Ghanaians that are mostly Christians, it will amaze you to say that, even when I put that question to you now, it's like, so why do you have insurance? Oh, the Lord is my protector. Those are the realities. But we need to gradually move to say that, look, God blesses all of us. If God blesses you with something that is physical, material, you need to protect that thing material, but you do not protect it in the
In the
spiritual
spiritual
realm.
realm.
You need to do what has to be done now because this is a tangible thing. Protect it as such. So those are some of the issues that we have to grapple with on this market. But gradually, I think that we'll make a headway. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of dynamism. There are lots of different people, much more younger people that are forward thinking, that are emerging in this country now. So it's a matter of time.
And you mentioned that it's a matter of time. You mentioned about innovation, that I mean a lot of these players within the insurance industry are now innovating on ways to ensure accessibility. One of the things that is very rife now as we speak is digitization, and you mentioned tech insurance,
Insurtechs.
insurtechs,
Yeah.
and all of that. Somewhere in 2018, at a symposium, you had mentioned that it is either insurance companies digitize or die off. Would you say that you've achieved what you foresaw as of that time when it came to digitization and ensuring that there's accessibility of insurance to a larger population within the country?
Unfortunately, I do not think that we are reaping the benefits of what this industry has invested in digitization. Over the past 5 or 6 years, there's been quite a lot of activity in that space. A lot of people have launched some sort of like portals that you can access with USSD. There's chatbots that they basically have launched in recent times. We have all those things, but I just think that the insurance buying population is not ready yet. We have the various generations, the millennials and the Gen Zs. Those are the people who fundamentally like to operate a lot in that space. They haven't converted to the point that maybe they have enough assets or liabilities that they're buying. So we still have the baby boomers and those other ones who are primarily the people who buy a lot of insurance, and they want the human touch. They want to interrogate with people when they have to do insurances. So we're still there. I think when you look at the figures in terms of gross written premium, I dare say we haven't gotten up past 5%. The best would have been even 10% of our gross written premium as a result of the digital channels and the digital things that have been created. But I think that we are ready as an industry. I know my colleagues in this industry and a lot of other companies have done quite a lot. It's just going to be a point that we're just going to take off all of a sudden, and then we're going to run with it. But then we are quite ready. Once again, then it comes to the cultural issues. I know one of the companies a couple of years launched the telematics. Here is a situation where it gives you an opportunity to have, for instance, a dash cam in your vehicle to monitor your driving experiences and then see when you do cross the traffic light, what speed do you go on a highway, are you changing lanes? All those ones are built into your car, and then it captures real-time data for you to be able to determine to say that, okay, so assuming I don't drive this car that much, I should not be paying as much as somebody who is always on the road. If I drive from the house and I park a car in my office at 7 and I don't move it up to 5, should I be paying the same money as... We tried all those things on this market, but people were not ready to it. For some reason, people don't even want you to push dash cams in their vehicles. I don't know whether you would agree to that as you're asking me these questions now. But then, yeah, we'll get there. I think there are other jurisdictions that, so we don't even manufacture cars. I think for Japan, for instance, maybe all the cars they manufacture now have dash cams. So you don't really have a choice. That is how much the insurance industry can influence people. And of course, they are responsive to those things as well. So car manufacturers are putting dash cams, they are linking up to some database. Artificial intelligence is continuously recalibrating and collecting data to see how much the person should be charged based on his or her
Driving behavior.
and that kind of situation. So we do not need to reinvent the wheel. I think that it's just a matter of time. We have the tools. We continuously evolve as a market, and then we'll take off at a point.
What do you think will be that one key thing that you would have to add to digitization to ensure you achieve what you've been looking for?
Innovation. I think I mentioned earlier that we need to be responsive to the needs of the population.
Would you say that the insurance industry has not been that responsive to the needs or the demands of the population?
Insurance is, what's the word? You know, it's something that has to do with disposable income. The exact word I don't even know how to describe that now. It's a subset or whatever. It's depending on your disposable income. As long as we grow from where we are, middle to middle income country or above that kind of things, and people have a lot more disposable income, they're going to be. First of all, we are 32 million in this country or thereabout. Insurance is a game of large numbers. The more policies you sell, then the more profitable it is, the price comes down for you. If there are only a few people and we design policies and then you design a whole new policy in terms of innovation and you're only able to sell 5,000. By the time the actuarial people come and then they give you the figures to say this is what it's going to cost, this is the risk premium that you'd have to charge to be able to, the premiums go way above the ability to pay for a lot of people. So then you see that the people are not buying. That is one thing that is hindering innovation. If we had large numbers and then you design a new policy for people just to meet them and then you do. Take it, I don't know which school you went to, but 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I think that we didn't have a lot of old school people having some sort of like group life policies or welfare policies. But the life companies have developed a lot of all those things. If you go to your old school now, year groups even have their own insurance policies that for death and then for life, all those ones. Yes, that is trying to meet the needs of the people instead of with the advent of WhatsApp platforms. People now say that because Kofi has lost his spouse or the father, we should contribute.
All of us should contribute.
But now, with design policies, once you pay a premium, a one-time premium for the year, anything that happens to anybody in the group, whether spouse, parents, or children, there is some sort of benefit that is paid to those people. It didn't used to be around. So
how innovative do you think the industry would have to be? Let's say within the next 5 years, within the next 10 years, if indeed we have forecasted that we would want to see about 60, 70, 75% of the population having one insurance or the other. How innovative do you think the industry would have to be?
I think this industry is right. It's already innovative. We are now talking about the critical numbers. The critical numbers, the total population, the number of people that have the disposable income. When you have a lot of people who have bread and butter issues, typically they are not even thinking about tomorrow. Insurance is about taking care of your tomorrow. But then if a person cannot get what we call a square meal a day, is he going to take part with any money to buy insurance? So it goes hand in hand. The health of the economy, how people's
living conditions
basically impact on uptake of insurance. So we all have to go together. But then with the examples I said for you with respect to even digitization and then people launching a lot of chatbots these days, we're ready. It's now gradually how we need to educate the people that these are the things that are available beyond their education, whether they themselves are convinced culturally And then the religious factor that I talked about, those are the things that we gradually would have to battle and manage until we are able to reach out to a significant number of people.
If you just tune in, we're having a conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of Downwell Insurance, Mr. Seth Kobla Aklasi, and he's also the President and Chairman of the Ghana Insurance Association. A lot has been said, a lot for us to actually discuss. Before I even got into this conversation with you, and there was something that I think yesterday in the evening was circulating on social media. Some of the media outlets had actually picked it up. I heard Downwell Insurance is being bought or being rebranded, taken over, and then later I did a bit of digging and realized that it was Downwell Life Assurance. And the question that clicked in my mind was, has there been a history between Downwell Insurance and Downwell Life Assurance? What is the story?
Okay, that's interesting. First of all, Downwell started operations in 1993. It was the idea of the Methodist Church, the leadership of the Methodist Church, and some individuals and corporate institutional investors that had actually started the business of insurance. Between 1993 and 2007 or 8, we only had one Downwell Insurance. Effectively, there was a new insurance act that came into force in 2007, the Act 274 or something, 2006 Insurance Act, that directed that all insurance companies should be separated in terms of long-term business and short-term business. I'll break that one down because it's somehow technical for people. Insurance is about assets and liability match. So we look at it and say that, okay, if you have these assets and you assume what we call liabilities, because all premiums that we take from people, we are liable because it's something that we would have to pay. So all the time there has to be a match of those two. So if you take what we call the general business or the short-term business, it has to do with normally policies that are issued for 12 months, 1 year. Your house insurance, your motor insurance, your fire for your factory, those are normally 12 years. So we take those down that they are short-term businesses. Beyond what we call the short-term business, because after 12 months of your policy period, you may or you may not make a claim. So it's a pool that is created for a group of people. If there is a need for it, it is taken to compensate. After 1 year, you need to renew it to be able to be in good standing. So after 1 year, the money would have been spent or earned, and then we would have taken to pay those things for people. So there is always a likelihood that if there is no accident occurs, it means you are not going to make a claim. So that is what we call short-term business or general business. So that is what Downwell is. Prior to that, there were two. The other one is what we call Downwell Life. Downwell Life has what we call the life businesses or the long-term business, where they issue policies maybe for 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, depending on what it is. The distinction, again, that I want to bring out clearly is that whilst for the short-term business, in 12 months, you'd have earned your premium. For the long-term business, they are insuring people who will necessarily make a claim. If you buy a life policy, the only thing you don't know is that when you're going to make a claim, but definitely. So some people call it life assurance because they are assuring your life and you're assured that you're going to make a claim. In the 2006 Insurance Act, they decided that we should separate the entities. So then Downwell, which was the mother company, gave birth to Downwell Life. At a point down the line in about 2016, the shareholding changed because some other people came in to take up half of the life business away. So they have been doing life for some point now. They are the people rebranding. Of course, they had to rebrand because the shareholding has changed. I think the lawyers would say strike law that if you have different shareholders, you cannot have the same name. So fundamentally, Downward Life is what has rebranded to another company. But Downward Insurance that started in 93 here in Osu is still here in Osu, and we're still serving the needs of our clientele.
I mean, a lot of people were concerned. So for some of the clients who didn't know about the difference that you've explained now, what are you telling them? And they are your clients. They want to hear you.
Yes, so I think that's why I took pains to explain even the structure or the basis of the companies. That, look, if it is that you have your house insured or your factory insured or you have a marine or a travel policy or those things, then you know that you have been dealing with Downward Insurance Limited. We are here. Our name hasn't changed since 1993 that we started operations, and that is that. If you have a life policy or a funeral policy or some sort of like welfare scheme or all those kind of policies, then you might have been dealing with Downward Life. They have changed. We brought that separation came about because of the Insurance Act that was promulgated at that time that said that all the companies should separate. So you could realize that there are quite a lot of companies that you could have, like for instance, one of the oldest, you have SIC and then you have SIC Life. So they're different governing bodies, different structures, different financing, and different MDs and that kind of situation. So that's what it is with Downward and Downward Life. So Downward Life have decided, because of where their strategic direction is, they are rebranding. Of course, they are no longer necessarily having the same shareholding structure. So they have decided to change, and we've changed their name to Pinnacle Insurance. Yeah, that's what it is.
One of the questions that I would love to ask, I mean, the law that brought about the decoupling, how has it affected the industry? Has it helped that much?
I think it has helped. One thing I said when I was trying to talk about the decoupling is that, like the accounting and the financial reporting, with respect to life, because the policies, there would always be claims on them and they are for longer periods. Then you see that their investment mix is even different to cater for the future liabilities compared to what is we in the general space hold. So those are the critical things, because if they had fused the monies together and then we've used them for short-term investment. And then somebody's policy matured in 6 or 7 years, and then what would happen to you? That is the challenge that we face. I think that in very recent times we have had a domestic debt exchange that had impacted on the insurance industry. It's impacted significantly more on the lives because they had quite a lot of money because in the bonds, because they had to do long-term investment. Relative to the general business that we just do, the short-term investment. So they, to a large extent, were much more hit. They had to impair a lot more. They had to make provision that goes into the future. So that's at least one thing. So it's catered for that. They will do investments that will last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but we are limited to having to do investments for 1 year. Because after 1 year, all the risk are spent ordinarily. Yeah, that's what it is.
Happy 98.9 FM. Let's go for a quick breather. When we return, there is more for us to talk about with the Chief Executive Officer of Downward Insurance, Mr. Seth Kobla Aklasi, and who is also the Chairman and President of the Ghana Insurance Association. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Happy 98.9 FM. You're watching us live on Facebook, Happy 98.9 FM, on YouTube, Happy TV, and you're listening to us live on Happy 98.9 FM. We're having an exclusive interview with the Chief Executive Officer of Downwell Insurance and also the Chairman and President of Ghana Insurance Association, Mr. Seth Kobla Aklasi. And this will be the final part of the conversation. Everybody would want to find out if we are to project into the future within the next 5 years, 10 years, Mr. Aklasi, people will ask, how will the insurance industry be like within the next 5, within the next 10 years?
I think the industry can only grow if we do the things right. Of course, it's not necessarily only from the perspective of insurers. I told you in our earlier conversation that we have to innovate, we have to digitize, we are waiting for the responses to come. But then, after all those ones, if we get to show people what the benefits of insurance is, if we have like the opportunity to invest, because in all over the world, people will say that they take insurance premiums that are invested. If we had good structures that we take our monies and then, for instance, we build infrastructure. We now say government should not fund the motorway, for instance, and insurance people said, oh yes, we are putting money together and we'll toll it. We get money, would be vibrant, would definitely be supporting. The very essence of insurance is to take money in bits and pieces and channel them to do other important things. Insurance people are ready. We expect the economy to stabilize and then be receptive of all those things. We are trying to innovate. We are trying to encourage people. We are necessarily doing the right things. Now, a couple of years ago, you people said that they put in claims and then insurance people would not. Those are all perceptions. In this day and age, the insurance companies are competing on how fast you can pay claims, legitimate claims. We are challenged with a lot of fraudulent claims as much as we are in this country. But then to a large extent, I think that this industry pays claims, and it pays claims very promptly. You can hear adverts that people are running ads and say that they'll pay you the same day for your claims. Just try them and see. People talk about small print in insurance. There's absolutely no small print again. When I started insurance, even the standard motto proposal form had the legalist, thereon, thereof, and all those ones. It's now we have a one-page for you to complete because it's a contract. We give you a 14-page standard document that is the same font size throughout. And you should be able to just read and know what you're supposed to do. Initially, once again, motto is the one that a lot of people are familiar with, and then they complain that it's about compulsory. But then we list and said you are covered, and we give you the circumstances under which you are covered, and you are not covered, and we give you the circumstances. It's such an open thing. But then it's taking a while for people, whatever experiences they might have had or what they might have heard in other places. Or the other ones is that a lot of people put in claims and then they are fraudulent claims because they are challenged. Then they go back with their egos bruised and they sit in common places and say, oh, insurance people, when you do this, then they want to do that to you. But they do not tell you the whole story. We're trying, with respect to the contractual issues as well, as an industry, the association has the Claims Management and Advisory Bureau that you could contact if you have any challenges. Over the past 2 or 3 years, they have been able to resolve thousands of disputes between people. So we're trying to give courage to the people. We hope that things will go well, and then we'll be such a very important aspect of this economy, providing services to our valued clients. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure having you on our show today. Grateful that you made time for us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as well. I hope that anybody who has any challenge has the opportunity to come to the Ghana Insurance Association offices or the NIC, because we emphasize that we will satisfy their needs. There's a whole aspect of all this in the industry value chain is what we call the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, who are professionals who are just dedicated to guide you for insurance needs as well. And then if you contact any member of the Brokers Association, they are consultants, they have done insurance over the years, they are proper professionals that can guide you in your insurance needs. So there are all those services that are available to everyone.
And you heard it from the president and chairman of the Ghana Insurance Association, Mr. Seth Kobla Aklasi. And it's a pleasure coming your way. And the same time next time that we meet and we have prominent individuals like Mr. Aklasi himself on the exclusives on Happy 98.9 FM. We say good morning and thank you for watching.
Happy FM, Nimdie, Happy FM, and Nijenkwa.